Hey, how's it going everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thanks for tuning into the video. And for this one, you find me sitting in the 2021 Lexus UX250h Luxury with all-wheel drive. And I want to share with you my likes and dislikes about this small luxury crossover from Lexus so that you have a better idea before you buy. And make sure you stick around all the way till the end to hear my overall recommendations. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe and notification bell button so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. Now on to the review. This is the smallest Lexus, which also makes it the cheapest one as well. The UX lineup starts at $33,000, but the version that I'm sitting in is the UX250h Luxury. So this has the hybrid powertrain, which makes more power than the standard UX200. This also has the luxury trim appointments and also all-wheel drive capability. So the UX250h starts at just under $40,000 and the one I'm driving in is around $45,000. That's a lot of money, but this is a hybrid luxury crossover, albeit a small one. So I want to find out if the smallest Lexus is any good. And I want to start this review with the exterior first. The UX line is a sharp-looking crossover, and I mean that somewhat literally because the exterior design seems to have been modeled after a knife. The front end has that gorgeous spindle grille that has defined the Lexus face for a while now. When Lexus revealed their first spindle grille more than 10 years ago, it was a bold design and somewhat of a controversial one. Now it seems like every car manufacturer has some gaping maw or something weird going on with their front bumper. This grille design looks very attractive and aggressive. The F Sport line has a different, more intricate looking grille insert, but the luxury and the standard UX lines have this Tron looking landscape going on. In the center, the badging on this Lexus has a slight blue border, so you can tell that this is the hybrid version. And since it's covered in that glass cover, that means that there are sensors behind it that gives you radar-based dynamic cruise control and also pre-collision preventive systems. I really like the headlights on the UX. Not only do they look really good during the daytime with these unique daytime running lights, but these headlights get very bright at night. And the one I'm driving in comes with the headlight upgrade so it can adapt to your steering inputs. One extra benefit of that package is the cornering lights. So these fog lamps will light up when you're making a tight turn, which is pretty helpful for getting into tight driveways. Now moving around the side, there's more sharp lines to be found. The design gives the rear end a more muscular and wide-bodied look, which I love. However, I don't love the generous black cladding. It gives it a more utilitarian and off-road capable illusion, but it takes away from the luxury vibe that Lexus represents. And finally, at the rear, more sharp lines and acute angles to be found. The rear end has a really good look, and I think it sort of looks like Optimus Prime's face. And you can tell how small this crossover really is just by looking at the rear hatch. So if you're looking for maximum utility, this one might just disappoint. Overall, a muscular and attractive looking exterior design, and if you're not in love with the exterior design, then you might just fall in love with the interior. And I like this infotainment screen. This is the ultra widescreen layout, and it looks nice whether you're using the native infotainment system or plugging in Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. The input method is still this tragic touchpad with haptic feedback. It works perfectly fine when you're stationary, but it's really hard to use when you're driving. I know that's not recommended to use while driving, but people do it. And if people are going to do it, it needs to be better. So Lexus, please improve on this. The screen is also not a touchscreen, which is good in some ways because the designers have been able to put the screen further back, but more within the driver's line of sight. Now, if you need to use navigation rather than entering the address using this touchpad, the voice recognition system is pretty good. So let's try that. Take me to Grand Central Station.
Searching. Showing results for Grand Central. Select the one you want. Say next
Pretty good.
page for...
Looking at other parts of the interior, I love the center console design. I really like the low profile switches on here. It looks like it blends in with the rest of the trim, giving it that concept car-like design. I also like the physical heated and ventilated seat buttons and also the heated steering wheel. This is normally something that you'd have to dig through in the clunky menu system in other Lexus cars. And for this one, I also like that there's an auto setting so that you don't have to fiddle with the system as much. Moving further down, you'll find the wireless charger. This design could be vastly improved because the wireless connection isn't that reliable. It just has to line up just right. And I found that it performed better when I took my phone out of my case. Now, wireless chargers in cars is tough in general because it's one size fits all and all phones are of different sizes. But there is one car that handled wireless chargers really well, and if you want to see that, please click the link up here. And then down here, you'll find the touchpad. We'll just ignore that for now. And further back, you'll find the music controls. Now, you might find that the volume dial being located here is kind of annoying because it's not traditional. But once you get used to it, it's really not that big of a deal. And I actually like the placement of this a lot because you don't have to hunt for it. You just place your palm on the tip of the armrest here and you just know where all the buttons are. This is the definition of ergonomic design. The controls are arranged to fit the human shape, and I like this crossover's take on it. One way to make this more comfortable is to slightly position this more forward, because depending on how tall you are and also your seating position, this might be slightly uncomfortable to use. So Lexus, if you're listening, just get rid of this touchpad altogether, move these controls further forward, and then bring the screen back and turn it into a touchscreen. Looking ahead, there's more Lexus design goodness here. The instrument cluster is almost fully digital with the exception of the fuel and temperature gauges. The center gauge is where you can monitor what the hybrid system is doing, whether you're operating on the battery, the engine, or some combination of both. I'll talk more about the hybrid performance a little bit later. There's also some drive mode dials up here, and you could switch between Eco, Normal, and Sport. It's not as useful on this hybrid crossover compared to some of the sporty models like the Lexus LC or the RC. And if you want to see those reviews, please click the link up here and check the links down below. As for interior comfort, the front seats are pretty decent. This is covered in their new Luxe interior. There is no real leather option for the UX, which I'm perfectly okay with, considering this leather-like surface feels very premium, and my guess is that it's also much more durable. The front seats are also 8-way adjustable, and they have heating and ventilation, as I've mentioned before. The back seats aren't so great, however. This is where the idea of the UX being the smallest and cheapest Lexus you can buy shows its ugly side, because you wouldn't want to transport people on a regular basis back here. Sure, there's enough legroom, but that's only if the passengers are on the average to short height. Additionally, the cargo space is also on the small side. There's 22 cubic feet of space, and that's if you remove this floor panel. This is the challenge of the UX. It's been given that higher ground clearance to give it that higher riding feel. It's been given a hatch and a foldable second row to give it more utility. But in the end, this is still a small car. So if you think you're getting the utility of a crossover, you should really think again. This UX is related to the Toyota CHR, and I've actually driven that car almost across the country. I took it on a 6,500 mile road trip with my wife and our belongings. This subcompact crossover became really tight very quickly. So while the space may not be optimal for cross-country trips, you do get pretty awesome mileage. In fact, that CHR returned pretty stunning mileage during my 6,500 mile road trip. If you want to find out what that is, please click the link up here. And this Lexus UX will easily return pretty fantastic mileage as well, thanks to that hybrid powertrain. The UX200 is powered by a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, making 169 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque, whereas the UX250 is a hybrid powertrain with 181 total system horsepower coming out of the 2-liter engine and the Lexus hybrid drive. Now, the way the hybrid system works here is by having 2 motor generators. One is in line with the engine, which acts as a starter, and the second one is in line with the front axle driving the front wheels. And merging the 2 motor generators is a power split device. That is the heart of the Lexus hybrid drive system. That's the reason why these drivetrains can switch between solely using engine power or battery power or a combination of both. And this is also how Lexus and Toyota hybrid systems are also able to recharge the battery when you're coasting or coming to a stop. And speaking of batteries, these ones use nickel metal hydride, whereas other hybrids like to use lithium ion batteries, like the ones found in your cell phone. More hybrid and electrified cars are going the lithium ion route because they're lighter, but other hybrids are still using the nickel metal hydride batteries because they're more affordable and easier to create, and they also handle extreme temperatures better. Does it really matter for the end user? Not really. Both technologies seem to be pretty reliable, but if you have more experience in this realm, I'd love to hear more about it, so please leave your comments down below. Now, how does it drive? I have a love-hate relationship with this car. I love small, short wheelbase cars. They're easier to whip and toss around, and you can sneak them in some really tight spots. The UX250h has that lively, fun-to-drive attitude. I like the steering feel and how communicative it can be. I also like how the suspension is more taut, producing more immediate feedback with the road. That being said, this also doesn't feel like a Lexus. The ride quality is un-Lexus-like. It's a bit rough and unrefined. You'll also hear vibrations and rattles anytime you go over rough bumps or when you have the music on too loud. The hybrid powertrain is also on the slow side, surprise, surprise. The added electric motor on the rear axle, which gives it that all-wheel drive capability, is nice, and the added horsepower versus the UX200 is also a bonus, but the UX250h is also 300 pounds heavier than the UX200, so while it's faster, 0 to 60 time is still not great at 8.6 seconds. As for stopping power, it's okay, but the brake feel can be vague at times. That's just the nature of hybrid cars. When you press on the brake pedal, it's telling the system to first apply regenerative braking. It's telling the motors to act as a generator so it could produce more power and store that electricity in the batteries. And then the friction brakes will take over. It really depends on the speed and how fast you're trying to apply brakes. But on slow speed situations, like in stop and go traffic, that feel can be very vague. Bottom line is that this isn't a performance car, nor is it a good utilitarian crossover. And if you treat it like one, you'll be disappointed. But if you're getting into this with the expectation of it being a classy commuter car for 1 or 2 people, maybe occasionally taking out some of your friends, then this is going to be a fantastic solution. I see this as the perfect car for the young professional working in the city who cares about having a great looking car and also getting great mileage. You should be able to achieve about 42 miles per gallon between city and highway driving. Or if you're someone looking to get into a small hybrid luxury car, your options are going to be very limited and you might just be looking at the best option. So to answer my original question, is the smallest Lexus any good? This is a good car, not a great car. This is also not a good Lexus, but it's a great Toyota. Well, there you have it. That's my review of the 2021 Lexus 250h luxury hybrid all-wheel drive. I hope you've learned something, and I want to thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. If you liked it, hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe and also the notification bell so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. I'll wrap it up right there. My name's Hanson, and this has been the Lexus UX, and I will see you next time.